Not the Footy Show.
Okay.
Alrighty. 2-1-2, sir.
Two, 1, 2.
2-1-2. Okay.
It's 2 for 2, 1, 2.
G'day, everybody. Welcome to episode 212 of Not The Footy Show. I'm Warrick Nicolson, your host, and there's another host who has the most and is currently into his fourth coffee of the day. He exclusively revealed that. Staff writers have revealed that. Everybody's revealed that. Mr. Robb Cox, are you bouncing off the walls in Camden, sir?
Bouncing off the walls for the last 10 weeks here, was I, in ISO. Haven't left the house for 10 weeks. Actually, I have left the house for in 10 weeks a couple of times. Do you know that this week I got a little love letter from Services New South Wales for operating a mobile phone whilst operating a vehicle?
Oh, did you?
Yeah. The most interesting thing about it is that I actually wasn't operating a mobile phone. The mobile phone was on my lap, upside down, facing down after it had just landed on the floor.
Yes.
So I appealed like all good citizens do and appealed to their, I've been driving for 30 years and blah, 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 blah. It came back about 9 hours later and said, tough titties, mate, pay up.
How much did that set you back?
$344 and 5 points.
Do we set up a GoFundMe page for you, Cocksmith? Is that what we need to do?
Not necessary. If I could make up a GoFundMe page to douse my anger with that one, it's not.
I now know why we haven't spoken for about 2 weeks. It makes sense.
I've been angry for 2 weeks.
You've been angry for 2 weeks. Actually, I thought about the other day with the new relaxations of some of the rules around things. I was thinking, technically we could do a podcast in the flesh.
Absolutely.
Right now. And I actually thought about driving out today.
Well,
and I went,
next time.
I haven't
next time
done
you
that.
should.
Well, you could always drive to my place.
But I can't make a roast pork at your place. I can make one here.
Yeah. So he's bringing in information from the outside there. I don't have an oven, everybody. Life is fantastic. I'm doing really well. This is episode 212. You've just got some life story there from the two of us. There are some other life stories going around rugby league right now. We are the founding members of the John Bateman Appreciation Society, Cocksmith. Back on April 1st, 2019. He'd only played about 2 games of footy, and we were all over it. It went really big on YouTube. Actually, over 1,000 views. People agreed. And we will get to it after the break. But essentially, Johnny Bateman has come to understand, I think, in the last 48 hours or so that you can't choose your family, but you can definitely choose your management. And it's sort of put him in an interesting situation as we enter into round 3, which is, I guess, round 1 of the launch of the HMAS PVL NRL. That's what I'm calling it. It's the brand new world. It looks very much like the Titanic, and that didn't go very well halfway through its voyage. So hopefully the PVL NRL goes a little bit longer. We'll be back to talk about the new draw, the 6 agains, the TV schedule, all the rest of it here on episode 212 of Not The Footy Show.
Not The Footy Show.
So the founding member of the John Bateman Appreciation Club was Ricky Stewart, Richard Stewart.
It was.
Then was yourself, and then me, and now I think John Bateman has actually joined the club himself. He's one of his own biggest fans.
Yes, I think he is. It's going to be interesting to talk about that.
I'm worth more money.
Of course he is. All right, let's get into it. Okay, it's episode 212, Not The Footy Show. Warrick Nicolson, Robb Cox. Finally catching up after a couple of weeks, not discussing the fine that young Cocksmith got from the government. At least it wasn't from riding your motorbike on the north coast of New South Wales when you were supposed to not be, mate. That's one upside.
Yep.
Although I think that might have been challenged more successfully than yours. Let's get into Johnny Bateman. In the last 48 hours or 24 hours, a story broke. Well, let's go back a little bit further. Grand final week, and interest in rugby league from a Canberra perspective, from a rugby league fans perspective, was pretty high because the Raiders were riding a crest of a wave. They're going into their first grand final in a long, long time. And a story got broken that John Bateman was after a contract upgrade. Not even 1 year into a 3-year deal that also included a big transfer fee that the Raiders paid Wigan. And everyone sort of looked at it and went, what's What? What? And then we worked out that he'd actually changed managers. Who did he go with, Cocksmith?
I've no idea, mate. I couldn't tell you the details on that, but I reckon you might have it written. On a little
Isaac Moses is the one that he went with.
Mm.
He transferred from, I think, a UK-based agent, which is fine. It's totally his decision and all the rest of it. But it came out at a time of the week that you kind of went, that sounds ominously like a agent-placed piece of information. And as it turned out, it kind of got blown over. The excitement of the grand final came and went, and Canberra obviously played pretty well in that grand final, but weren't good enough to beat the Roosters. Then Bateman's had a reconstruction of his shoulder that apparently he was playing with towards the end of last year. And then in the last 24 hours, James Hooper has opened back up that can of worms and claimed that the Canberra Raiders rejected John Bateman's request to be released 4 times across the off-season. That's a lot of times, Cocksmith. That seems at least 3 times more than Ryan Madison had at the Tigers, who ultimately got released. Then Johnny Bateman got on Twitter, and he was pretty forthright in his slapdown of James Hooper. I do have the tweet here. Forgive me as I polish it up, shall we say. John Bateman on Twitter says, "You better stick to polishing that bald head, big fella, because you're something at being a journo. Never once have I asked for a release. Beep story, #fake news." Now, you know that I'm a big fan of the staff writers at Fox League, mate. What they're really good at is taking a tweet and turning it into a story.
Yep.
This did not become a story. They had their story up there from James Hooper for the next 12 hours that this had happened, and they were sticking by James Hooper. But the story that Bateman had put up there didn't make Fox Sports app. I was stunned. I was like, surely this is one of those first things that would go up. Then James Hooper, who clearly would have been stinging from this, rang up Donny Ferner, the CEO of the Raiders, and has led with this story. Canberra boss Don Ferner has confirmed the Raiders have given England back rower John Bateman permission to test his value on the open market. Now, the difference, Cocksmith, in this is interesting because asking for a release 4 times and actually having permission to negotiate with other clubs is different. Fair?
Yep.
The comment made by Bateman isn't technically incorrect. He's saying he didn't ask for a release.
Yep.
Yet, we now have John Bateman back on Twitter 24 hours later saying this, and I'm going to quote it again. Starts off with a kissing emoji. Hey guys, just let you know. It's all good. He said, "Like I said yesterday, I never once have I asked for a release, neither has my management. Canberra gave me permission to talk to other clubs months ago because they're tight on the cap next year and have nothing for me from 2022 onwards. I have a renegotiation clause in my deal for every year. That's why we are working through it. I love the Raiders and want to be here. So settle yourselves down and let's talk about the season starting back up." Now, I've given you plenty of information there. Where do you sit right now in regards to your immediate reaction to this? Are you surprised? Are you shocked? Are you like, well, that's what it is. It's Ryan Madison all over again. Where do you, based on what you think you can say, where you sitting right now, Foxman?
Okay. Well, the way I see it, with the new management team that it's come in, they haven't made any money out of John Bateman yet. And they're not likely to because they didn't sign him up to the $580,000 that he's on at the moment at the Raiders. His former management did, who will continue to receive 6% of that unless there's a contract upgrade. So, I mean, the cynic in me says that maybe Isaac Moses and co are agitating for a new contract with whoever.
Yep.
It doesn't matter who it's with because until they get another contract or an updated contract, they make zero money out of it.
And that's actually the best part about the Hooper article that followed it up. But I'm going to hold that little nugget till we get there.
I haven't read it. But
exactly. But I'll let you know that information soon. Yep.
So I don't know. I think the players sometimes get caught in the middle of this, and rightly or wrongly, are pawns in a game of making money. Now, John Bateman is a very good player. You know that. I was the second or third person to join the Appreciation Society, and I'd like to think that he could make the most money that he possibly could.
Yep.
But my problem with John Bateman is that he's not. I think in that Canberra team, he's worth every cent of the 580.
Right.
But I don't know if in another team he would be worth as much because he's very much an ad lib style player. He plays off the cuff quite a lot. as well as he does do it, they don't play with a severe amount of structure at the Raiders.
Yep.
So I'm not sure that he would be worth that much to another club. Okay, but I mean, look, Hooper may have worded it wrong in when he said ask for a release
4 times. That was the key.
Or he may not have worded it wrong. I mean, 4 times is 4 times, and if Don Ferner is saying 4 times, then it's 4 times.
No, Don Ferner said that he gave him permission to negotiate with other clubs, not
right
to test his value on the market. Not that he knocked him back 4 times. He's not saying that.
Okay, but look, where there was smoke, obviously Hooper had, he might have had the details a little bit wrong, but he had the story fairly right. Meaning either Bateman wanted to negotiate again, or he wanted out. Mm-hmm. Because if he's testing his worth on the market, what that tells me is that either he's going to, let's just say for argument's sake, another club says to him, we'll give you $700 a year. The first thing he does is he goes back to the Raiders and said, look, I've been offered $700 a year from the other club. What are you going to do about it?
Yep.
And the Raiders might say, look, we simply don't have it, mate. We can give you $30,000 a year more, and that's it. And you know what? I don't know, but my opinion is that maybe his management would go, yep, cool, grab that 610, and now we'll take 6% of that.
Yep.
So whether the Raiders have got room in the cap from 2022 onwards or not,
that's the nugget in here.
Look, they've got room for whoever they want.
Correct.
So you don't need to worry about them not having room for John Bateman. They'll either have room for him or they won't, and that'll be their choice. After 2022. So look, I don't know, mate. I think it's a journo got a whiff of a story. The player calls BS on the story, but not necessarily.
The framing of the story is what he's called. That's the interesting part. He's called out the way it's been framed. Didn't like that he was the one that's asked for this.
Yeah, but they clearly want to renegotiate something because of something, and they want to renegotiate the contract because either he wants a lot more money, and maybe the managers are saying to him, "You're worth heaps more, mate. I'll get you $750 to another club." So that gets the ship rocking a little bit, and then next thing you know, the player thinks, "Oh well, I can make nearly $200,000 a year elsewhere. Why wouldn't I?" But I think when the dust settles, if he's still in Ricky's good books and not on his SH1T list, I think you'll find that John Bateman will stay at the Raiders for as long as Ricky wants him there. That's what I think the wash-up will be.
I don't disagree with the way you've evaluated that. You have brought up a couple of things that certainly stick out to me, and that is the question you made about how much is he worth in the open market. Well, he's worth as much as last year made him worth. Because let's be honest, not everybody was convinced that Canberra made the right decision. Paying a transfer fee that's reportedly like $200,000 or pounds, there's a difference in that. They'd also signed him to big money for an unproven player in the NRL. And he'd been good at test level, but he wasn't, like when he came over here, I'd seen a bit of him and I thought there's a player here for sure, but I didn't think he was as good as what he turned out to be. And this is where I find the Ryan Madison example as the one that's the best to look at, is that Madison turned 6 months of good football into massive money at Para after he effectively got told that the Roosters, we haven't got a spot for you. Okay, that's how quickly that turned around. At least Bateman was an established international in the prime of his career and coming out to test himself. And that's all. And that's why I think Canberra fans gravitate towards it. Like, mate, you're leaving some good money overseas to come and have a go here.
Yeah.
And the frustration I have as a league supporter / Canberra fan is that you signed a 3-year contract, mate. Like, in the sense that, and you got really good, like he's on $200,000. And even then I'd still struggle to feel sorry for him.
Not chicken feed, mate. $580,000.
Whatever it is, but
it's almost $1.8 million.
But that's the thing. It's like, so, okay, that's not enough for you. And if your management are telling you can get more money, that's great. But this is where the stick gets in my craw, whatever how the saying is. You've hit the nail on the head in regards to the new management. We can get you more money, thus we can get money. Get that. But Bateman came out last night and absolutely floored Hooper with a combination right, left, boom, boom. He's on the floor. Fans loved it. I loved it as a footy fan. I just went, it's lovely to hear. I love the fact, well, everyone used it pretty much. That's the way media's going now. Again, still didn't appear on the Fox Sports app. But what really hit me about it was, mate, at least it's a refreshing take. I mean, I wasn't naive enough to think for a second that maybe this isn't. I'm not saying that it's not all true, but the way you've come out and basically said what you've said and the way you framed it, I'm not agreeing with. I was happy with that. I was thinking that's good. Yeah. Then within the next 24 hours, he's had to backtrack. And the bit this is the bit that sticks in my craw. I think it's the way I was saying it. This is the line. Canberra gave permission to talk to other clubs months ago because they're tight in the cap next year and have nothing for me from 2022 onwards. Is that necessary? I don't mind if he just said Canberra gave permission to talk to other clubs. That's fine if he just said that. But where that extra bit of information comes in, it's like the translation from my end is, if you don't upgrade me, now I ain't here in 2022.
Yeah, I'm going to leave.
That's the translation. And John Bateman, who has been a breath of fresh air on social, and he clearly just loves what he does, currently has a busted shoulder. He's apparently not going to be ready for round 3. He is one injury from maybe being cactus. And Canberra fans love him. And where he stepped in it, I think, here is, and he's got every right to step if he wants to. That's. I'm not saying he shouldn't have said anything, but I'm saying there's a certain level of responsibility that now is on his shoulders, which is, if you want to fight fire with fire, well, you're going to get burnt. And that's what's happened, is that people are going to look at this and say, well, you just want more money, which is fine. But he can't play the card he played last night on Hooper. And then that's the bit that I struggle with. You're going to cop it, mate. And that's your prerogative. If you want more money, that's great. But you can't tiptoe around it now. You've gone in feet first. And whatever you cop from here is what you're going to cop.
I've got an issue with just something that you just said there, and you and I see eye to eye on 99% of things. But I don't think it is fine if he wants more money. I don't think it's fine. I don't think it's fine at all. I think $580,000, especially in this current climate where people are losing their jobs and there's over 600,000 Australians out of work who would normally be gainfully employed. I don't think it's all that good, and I don't think it's that fair. $580,000 is pretty darn good. Yeah. Right. My other issue with Bateman, and I might be a little bit naive here, but he's got a contract till the end of 2021, correct? That's
the word, yep.
Why does he need a new manager? He's locked, loaded, and delivered. What? No. It's a legit question.
I don't disagree.
Why does he need a new manager? Why do you need a new manager when you have a contract in place until the end of 2021?
Because he wants more
money. What is a new manager going to do now?
Because he wants more money. And when I said I'm fine with him wanting more money, it doesn't mean I'm agreeing that he should get it. If that's what he wants, everything that comes with that, he's got it on our shoulder. That's the reality.
Look, and the other side of it is he has to prove the shoulder before anything. I can't imagine a club with a bit of nous and a bit of knowledge about the particular injury that he's got are likely to say to him, "We'll give you $750 and we'll sign today." Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the club will say, "Look, why don't we wait till you get back on the park? Have a quick look, get our doctors to check you out, give you the full once-over. We'll probably even get you a couple of MRIs or whatever you need to do to really dot your I's and cross your T's before they offer any kind of money." I hope he makes a massive comeback, and I hope he kills it, for his own sake. But at the end of the day, managers for these players have got a lot to answer for about the current. The NRL's got some questions and things as well, but this whole empire building based on the 6% they're going to get, it's not good for the game. I think the NRL needs to reel these managers in and understand that there are a few managers out there that can bring a club to their knees and will do so and quite often play power games that paint a club into a corner. I'm not saying this particular manager has or hasn't done in the past, but there are those who have. So
yeah, I'm in agreement with you on a lot of that, because I think you're spot on about the timing. That's where it's tone deaf in the current situation, especially when you hear that the NRL is going to cut X amount from their own staff budget, all the rest of it. Clubs have let staff go that's their life. And it's over in a flash. And that's the bit that I just go, Bateman, you've earned the right to be in this discussion for the money you want, but you do have 2 years left. And the way you've positioned it,
2 or 3, We're
all
a
of a
third of the way
sudden,
through.
all of a sudden, it's now in Canberra that they haven't got anything for him in 2022. That's the bit that I just thought wasn't. I didn't think it was necessary. Whether it's true or not is the irrelevant part. It's just that one is going to get a few Canberra fans and rugby league fans who were last night firmly in the Bateman camp. They're going to say, "Well, mate, it is about money. That's what you want."
Of course it is. Of course it is.
You know, the line at the end also, as we finish it up on this, is that he goes, "So settle yourselves down." Well, Johnny boy, you stirred the hornet's nest up last night massively when you had a crack at Hooper, which everyone loved, apart from probably Jimmy Hooper.
Oh,
but
he wouldn't have loved it.
But you can't you having your cake and eat it too situation here. And I'm going to leave you with one last thing. And I'm waiting for the Star Friars to pick this one up. But Boyd Cordner's knees, mate, they're no good. They're cactus.
How do you know?
Uncle Nick.
Have you been on the MRI machine?
Uncle Nick said that, you know, we budgeted out 24 games. We wouldn't have Boyd for 2 because his knees.
True.
You know, said knees are no good. But he basically said but you know, so if Boyd's not right in 12 months, Johnny Bateman to the Roosters, mate. I'm just saying it could happen.
Will you still be an unabashed Bateman fan if he goes to the Roosters?
He keeps playing like he has in the last 12 months. I will be, because he's just a gun. It's if he can leave us for the premiership, I'd be happy with that.
Look, who knows what's happening there with Cordner? But here's
I'm stirring that up, everybody.
I know, but here's my last say on it: that the Raiders are under no obligation to have anything in the cap for anybody after their contract. Their contract that they're currently on is up. So for John and his management to be you know, a little bit whiny about the Raiders don't have anything for me after 2022. We've still got 2 years to go to get there, mate. So, you know, maybe start looking next year. That's what most people do, is they start looking at the beginning of or the end of their second last year. So.
Final 2 points. One is back to your tone deaf thing. Canberra have just had 3 players leave the club in the last week. Dax Murchie's gone to the Warriors for new opportunities.
Yep.
Luke Bateman has given time off rugby league. And JJ Collins has gone because he can't make men's meet if he's not playing football. Sure. In the same club, the same day. I want my money. Anyway, the last one is that club that James Hooper has linked John Bateman to. It's not the Roosters. In that very same article, and this is why I love this kind of writing, he's gone through saying, you know, Bateman's agent has been agitating for a release from the final year of his contract in 2021 since last year. The Bulldogs are the favourites to win his signature, given they're one of the few clubs who will be cashed up and could offer the $800,000 a season Bateman's management team is chasing. That is where I don't have any respect for the way this article has been put together. Because if the Bulldogs aren't currently, they are ahead of the Roosters and any other club in the we'll link them to stage. Yep. It's just, if you want to stick by the story, go for it, Hooper, but don't put that one in there and just pretend that. Oh, it's just
they're a rebuilding club, though. Everyone knows that they're saving a war chest to be spent on a new team. We don't know what that team is made up of yet, so they will link every kind of marquee player with the Bulldogs. You know how it works.
I know how it works, but it doesn't mean I have to like it, Cocksmith. Anyway,
it doesn't matter.
Let's get on to the next part of the show, which is the HMAS PVL, NRL. We're back to talk about the launch of the new season after the break here at Not The Footy Show.
Not The Footy Show.
It's not really that's interesting to say PVL because that's Phil Gould's abbreviation for him. That's why I'm using it.
Fair enough.
Gus on Twitter. Too. It's interesting. I
love Gus.
Oh, it's good and terrible.
It
is. It's good and terrible.
Are you getting off the good ship, Gus?
Maybe.
I'm off our water.
Okay, we're back. It's time to talk about the new season, which is, well, it's less than 7 days away, Cocksmith. We're talking on Saturday night. The season starts on Thursday, round 3. And we're back with a blockbuster, Brisbane versus Parramatta, followed by the Roosters and Souths. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, does it, Cocksmith, in front of nobody?
Yep.
They got the TV got their 2 marquee games to open up the season, mate. And I actually have found this last, it's 3 or 4, it's about a month since we got announced it would be 28th.
Yep.
Something has slipped through the cracks. As much as it's great to see that Berlandi's NRL competition is going to launch, we got through the referee situation this afternoon. How the heck have we not heard more about this new TV deal?
I have no idea, mate. You know, in the past, nearly everybody has known what the current TV deal is worth for the NRL at any time, at any given time. It's normally common knowledge. Maybe Mr. Volandis likes to do things a little bit more, low key and kept on the quiet. I don't know, but it's usually journos who bust it open and just tell it's worth $1 billion over 5 years or whatever it may be worth. So,
Yep.
yeah, I'm not too sure. What's your theory on that, mate? You don't have one.
We saw one article about it, and then it's disappeared.
Yeah.
But what we have seen, however, is that fabled control that the TV networks had for years and years and years that we heard about. Once we get it back from Channel 9 and Fox Sports, we're going to do the draw we think we should be doing. Well, if a deal has been done and it involves these last couple of years of the current deal, which I think is one of the details in this whole announcement that sort of hasn't really permeated, you can bet your bottom dollar that Channel 9 and Fox Sports got full control back in rugby league. You only have to look at the draw this year. We had 20 rounds. We had 18 new rounds, all right? It has been unilaterally made for television, this draw. Now, you can argue, there's no chance of fans until who knows when, all the rest of it. That's fine. But it has been made abundantly clear in the way that they've done their draw. And I bring back a comment that Volandis made a month ago where he said, we can't do 24 weeks, but you know what we will do? We will make sure that everybody plays each other once, at least once towards the end of the year, because that's the only way we can get a fair competition. Fantastic idea. But generally, to do that, logic and precedent, which is however many thousands of years we had where we had a competition that played the first X amount of games, then you'd go and you round robin with those teams at the end of the year. We have a draw that is heavily and completely favoured towards blockbusters on TV. We have an example that I give you is that Melbourne will play Canberra this week in round 3, and then they'll play each other again in round 9. And then Canberra will play the Roosters in round 10, and they'll play each other again in round 17. Now, I'm only saying that because I'm, as a Canberra fan, I looked at our draw. That's what I did. I haven't looked at every other draw, and I'm sure it happens in the similar areas. But if we want to go on about how this is going to be the fairest draw I've ever had, well, it's already not, because all the teams that you should be playing, which is the other 15 teams in the competition between round 1 and 15, that's not going to happen. So teams are going to have harder games doubled up, or they're going to have easier games doubled up. We don't have an origin series where this becomes needing to make sure that we transfer games in the scheme of things. It is really easy, but evidently too hard to accommodate that in the new draw. And this is probably the biggest point out of the draw that I just didn't understand. You want to satisfy TV, fantastic. You want to pay less for your rights, fantastic. Go for it. But you've had opportunity to prove this whole, shorter season's a better thing, and you don't take that opportunity. That is the thing out of this so-called TV deal that's happened, that I just was like, yep, TV's got control again.
Look, from the surface, and I haven't gone through the draw in minute detail, but from the surface and bits and pieces that I've noticed, where there's a team playing another team in round 6 and then again in round 9, 3 weeks later, and that happens with at least one mob or a pair. It does seem that the TV has the television people have decided what the draw will be, and in a way I understand it. It's their product. They're paying for that product, so I get it. I do understand it. If they're going to pay X amount of dollars, and if that money value ticks the boxes of what the NRL power brokers think is fair, then I guess TV has a fair voice in how and what is to be shown. I think I do understand what you're saying, though, because for a couple of years, at least the claim was, we own the game, we plan the game, and they can take whatever. But I think I do think that the power went out of that argument when COVID-19 hit, and there was a lot of like ducks on the surface of the water, just gliding along, but lots of stuff going on underneath the water. So I think it looks to me and to you, and I think we can both agree that this 2020 draw, the edited draw, the draw that has been just released, is definitely designed for television. From what I hear, from bits and pieces, there will be no crowds at the earliest round 14.
Yeah, doesn't
So
surprise me.
that means
I look
12.
at the last 3 or 4 rounds maybe before they get that all sorted out, if they're allowed.
Round 14, it sounds like the government have been saying, and this will be boring and age this podcast a bit, but I'll be very quick. It looks like in the next 3 to 4 weeks, they're going to go to another level of possibly another 2 levels of social distancing, which would then allow 500 people to attend an event. Now, even with that, the NRL have got special dispensation now, but I'll guarantee you that at least every event where there's no crowd, there'll be at least 100 people. So a crowd of 400 ain't going to help much.
No.
And so they're going to need to wait until they can get restrictions lifted for crowds.
And the whole
like
issue that they've got with all that is that the moment you introduce more people into the mix, you increase the chances, which is the big reason they're playing, is because they're saying we can control who's in the mix. So
totally.
Yeah.
But anyway, look, to your point with the TV, with the draw, mate, I agree it's a little frustrating, and it'll be definitely more frustrating for some teams than others. Some people are already going on about it on social media that their team's got the raw end of the deal, and it's hard to argue with. But at the very least, we're going to be playing rugby league again as of next Thursday.
The reasoning that PVL gave to the referees when they blew up about changing the way that it was all being done. There is an interesting element out of all this, which is the TV allocations that has now happened, and it has changed. And at the risk of sounding like a Canberra Raiders podcast, they were affected massively in this. I think they went from 8 guaranteed TV games to 3 in the new arrangement. The list is in front of me right now. If you want to see the Brisbane Broncos play, I know you've been denied this opportunity for many years, but they're on 15 of the next 18, or it could be 20 actually, 20 games that they're going to be on free to air. Then Parramatta with 13, Melbourne and Souths on 12, the Roosters on 11, Newcastle Knights 9, Cowboys and Panthers in 8, Dragons with 7, Manly and the Tigers with 6. Actually, they've unders for the Tigers. I'm really surprised they're only on 6 times.
Yeah.
Canterbury with 4, Canberra and the Sharks with 3, and those Titanic teams, the Titans and the Warriors, get 1 each on Channel 9. Now, the reason that I have issues with this is I go, well, you want to talk about how Channel 9 were so affected by, we don't have a TV product, thus we're not paying all our money. Okay, that was their reasoning. Hugh Marks was out there and he was really open. It's not making us money, and we're going to be losing money if we're not getting the product we want. Well, what happens to all those club sponsorships that were predicated on the fact that you were going to have 8, for example, Canberra games on free-to-air television this year? Do those sponsors now have the right, using the Channel 9 model, to say, well, we were going to be on 8 times on free-to-air, now we're going to be on 3. So you should get whatever that percentage is.
If I was a sponsor, I'd likely, you'd probably cop it on the chin this year, but if you had a multi-year deal, you might be a little bit annoyed and ask for a better, sweeter price next year. I'm not sure. I'm sure there's some sponsors out there that are struggling and they need the advertising, and they're budgeted for the advertising, and they can be paying $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year to get their brand and their logo on TV. And if they thought it was going to be 8, 10 times, and now it's going to be 3, that'd be a bit peed off. I'd
the
suggest.
Same token, it works on Channel 9 as well, because if you're I can't think of something off the top of my head, but if there's a major company that's based in Canberra, right, who want to advertise on Channel 9 because they know there's going to be Canberra fans tuning in, do they now pull their sponsorship with Channel 9?
Probably. If they were, I agree, mate. I agree. I think the best thing that the TV networks, whether it be Channel 9, 7, 10, Fox, or whoever, can probably do for our economy is to stop their newsreaders talking crap all the time about how bad the economy is. It's serious, mate, because that's what makes people nervous. They sit around, watch the news, and they go, all of this, we're all going to be bankrupt in December. There's going to be a second wave. And then people are like, oh, well, I better hold on to my cash. I'm not going to spend it. and it affects everyone. And the most ironic thing about all of this, mate, is that the news programs on TV are on an absolute spike up for people watching them. But the problem is that they can't get any advertisers to pay for their ad space because they're so negative. They're so negative about everything that's going on in the world. They can't even be a little bit positive and give people a glimmer of hope. You know?
And on that, something that came up right after Christmas or when we had the bushfires, okay?
Yep.
Do you know what went sky high during the bushfires? Website hits.
Mm-hmm.
News was the bee's knees. So they had this.
Yeah, they've had a great year.
They had this unnatural, the way of putting it, uptick in their viewership. So they go to sponsors and say, "Hey, look at this numbers," and they're going to be using the fires and everything as a reason. I mean, and look, this is going back to even just the Fox Sports thing that I was saying before. There is an underlying issue in the way that our game is reported because it's about the tangible things you can show the person up above you. What are you earning for the for our back pocket? You know, and that's what it comes down to. That is one of the major benefits of a story like this Bateman one that we talked about before. It's nothing but clicks, nothing but readers, as Tony Kornheiser would often say. And the issue that we have as just rugby league fans, and you and I have followed this game for a long time, is that there is a reason we look back at some of the great things in the past with rose-coloured glasses because we've had to sift through so much garbage that was going on at the same time to try and remember those things. It's funny how even as much of a negative as Super League was for the game at the time, there were some great things that happened during that time. I think, to me, the number one thing coming out of Super League is that we got arguably the greatest ending to a grand final ever in the year where the game was split. There's plenty of negatives within that.
Yeah.
But we get that magic of the Joey Johns, who has already been great for a couple of years. But there is things that come out of this area. And we don't have to, as a game and as a news or whatever, you don't have to always be negative. There is gold in those hills. There really is.
Absolutely.
But if you treat your audience in the one direction, which is you got to click it, revealed, explained, exclusive. I mean, how good's exclusive? I mean, it's just the greatest word on the planet. But it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to treat your audience like idiots. And unfortunately, where we are, and this is one of the elements coming into this new season starting, and I'm really fascinated to see how this game is marketed because we are going to have some stuff on the field that is going to be a breath of fresh air after the last 10 weeks. But if the wrong teams lose and the wrong coach is under pressure, that becomes the story. Not that the game's back, not that we're happy that the game is back. It's, they've lost 2 games in a row. That's 4 losses in 4 games. I mean, it's yet, I don't know. There are going to be other stories that we can go to. There's going to be the great things happening on the field. I don't think we're going to lack anything from a visual standpoint of having no fans in the stands. I think the game is tightly enough covered with the way that the game is recorded or broadcast that it's not going to be that big of an issue. The greatness is still going to be there.
Yeah, I agree.
And you're going to obviously see it from the sidelines. But I just really think that if anything, this little period should have taught everyone is that you can be positive. The story of rugby league coming back still makes people excited. People are going to be busting for rugby league.
Absolutely.
And I just hope, and I don't know who listens to this podcast, but you can treat your audience with, hey, how good is the rugby league's back, rather than, hey, they might lose this week and then their grand final, their finals chances are over and we're like in 3 rounds into the 20-round season. I just, please, pump the brakes, relax,
100%.
enjoy that we're back.
Yeah, just be happy that it's back. I mean, think of how bad it was and crappy it was when you had to watch reruns with players who were in games commentating on them. I mean, hello.
You know that I've sent you that message a few times. That's one concept I just did not make any sense to me, and I just couldn't watch it. I'm sorry. I'm sure a lot of work went into those things, but they were just really hard.
Do you know what the interesting thing? There's an interesting thing that is on the cusp of happening this year. We've got a few teams that haven't won a game, right, so far, 0 and 2. What happens when a team, not so much the Roosters, but when a team, I like the Dragons, 0 and 2.
Warriors are the example I'm sure you're going to go to. Yep.
Yeah, 0 and 2, no crowds, they lose 4 on the trot. Do you reckon they're just going to turn it up? Do you reckon they're just going to go, there's no crowds to even push them, to get them across the line? It could end up being a very long year for a couple of clubs. Yeah, and an interesting year as well, given the movements around both of those particular coaches, Mr. Kearney, and and Mary McGregor. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what happens.
Supercoach
I'm
Seabold
fascinated.
actually came out in the last 24 hours and has said that he's going to rotate his squad, mate, because there's no reserve grades. We are in such a good position at 2-0. We've won the competition already. I'm going to rotate my squad and rest players.
Yeah.
I asked someone to send me through how they had the next 4 games. It is conceivable, extremely conceivable, that the Broncos are 2-4 after 6 weeks.
Well, I hope so.
Rotation will not be part of the Seabold vocabulary. I can't say the word.
No, once they start getting under a bit of pressure, he'll be going for the top 13 every single week, no matter what. You got a broken finger, don't worry, tape it up. I've got a dislocated shoulder, don't worry, tape it up.
Lovely. So round number 1, it is Broncos Eels on Thursday, Cowboys Titans Friday night, Roosters Rabbitohs Friday night, Warriors Dragons, Sharks Tigers, Storm Raiders on Saturday. And Sunday in round 3, we have the Panthers Knights and Seagulls versus the Bulldogs. How the heck did the Storm and the Raiders not get the Sunday afternoon game? Like, I don't know. You look at the other matches.
I thought that would have made sense. That would have made sense to TV. But I wonder how many viewers they actually get from Melbourne.
Good question.
Like I know that historically they've always had a lot of rep players in that team, so they tend to kind of fit in wherever it is to watch that team, and people either watch them to win or they want them to lose. But it is strange. It is a strange one, that one. The TV bosses have got their ideas, and obviously they've had influence. So
the other things that are interesting out of the draw quickly. There's no Monday Night Football. We thought there'd be Monday Night Football. It didn't happen.
I was wrong. You were wrong. Yep.
Collectively, I think there is a Monday Night Football game in 2 weeks, but a Monday football game, but it's the Queen's birthday long weekend. That's why it's happening.
That's right.
The Dragons and the Bulldogs. The other thing that didn't happen, or did happen that no one's really noticed, is that Sunday Night Football is back in a big way, Cocksmith. For the next 18 weeks, it's happening 11 of the next 18 weeks, Sunday Night Football, which I actually think is a good thing, and it's something that should definitely happen in a regular season. At least the first 6 weeks, if not the first 8 weeks, should have Sunday Night Football because of the way that we still have daylight saving. It's a fantastic situation. And then heading into the finals, you should have it on the Sunday Night Football. I just think it keeps interest going that little bit longer, and you can have some pretty dud 2 o'clock games sometimes on those Sundays, and you just wait itching for the 4 o'clock to happen. But that's interesting that's come back. Origin obviously has gone to November across. It's 2 weeks, but it's 3 weeks or whatever.
3 weeks. Yeah. 3 weekends.
Let's just talk about Origin I finally can avoid talking about Origin until like October. How good's that? I've got my wish, mate. I've got my wish. Just quietly, New South Wales going for 3 in a row. Yeah, interesting. Sorry?
And they'll get it.
Yeah, I hope so. And we will go to what more things. We've got 2 more things to talk about on this episode. We have gone over time already. I'm killing myself. But these things happen. We're going to talk about Greg Inglis coming out of retirement to go to the UK. And we have to talk about the 1 referee decision and this 6 again optional penalty restart, whatever it is. If I have anything to say about before we go to the break, people, is that how ironic that the first rule change they make heading into the new season is 6 again rule. It's lovely. As a Canberra fan, it's just delicious. We'll be back after the break here on Not The Footy Show.
Not The Footy Show.
Maybe we should put one more segment in too. If you want to pick your Origin forwards, Queensland and New South Wales.
How about no?
Okay, final segment here on Not The Footy Show. It's episode 212. Robb Cox over there, Warrick Nicolson here. And we have got through a lot so far, so we have to wrap things up because I don't like the pod going too long. Not because I don't like talking to you. I love talking to you. The talking is
that's
good.
Fine, mate. I get it.
As Jerry and Elaine would say, this is very good. But it's the bit afterwards. Basically, you get the option to go home and I have to stay and edit the stupid thing. We have to talk about 2 things. Let's start with the 6 again rule and the 1 referee. I understand the 1 referee thing. That I'm okay with. Sweet. Get from 2 to 1. We have no dramas with that.
Sure.
But the 6 again optional non-penalty call where a referee is able to say, no, I'm not going to hold up play and call a penalty and get everyone back on side.
Yeah.
And waste 20 to 22 seconds, which is the number that was given. I'm going to have the option to say 6 more tackles.
Yep. Play on.
In theory, it's not bad. But my big question is, we've gone back to one ref, so that's one set of eyes now looking, okay, which could be a good thing because at least the decision might be consistent. But instead of empowering the referee to send someone to the sin bin because they deem it to be deliberate and a professional foul, a referee now has to go through the process of deciding, is it a penalty or is it 6 again? First. Then, if they decide that it's 6 again, at what stage does the indiscretion have to be worse, or how much worse does it have to be a penalty? And then, if I've decided that after a couple of times, how many more times does it have to happen before I can then send the player to the sin bin? Okay?
Yeah.
Well, that's where my mindset went straight away with all this.
Yep. Good questions.
Then you've got all that, but now you've got the situation where currently, entering this season and last season and the season before, really last 3 years, teams don't care about giving away penalties in their own line. They're not, doesn't fuss them at all. They'll give away 2 points if they want. They don't care. They'll just take time off the clock. They'll reset the line, back their defence. So now the 2 points potentially is off the table because a referee still has to make a decision between is it 6 again or is it a penalty? It's only if it's a penalty can then go for the goal. So while they've empowered, they've gone to a real strength in NRL to say, we've empowered referees to get harsh. Sure. Have they not just made it harder for them to get harsh because they've added so many more things in the process? Where technically, if they just empowered them with the 2 referees the last couple of years and had one referee basically sitting there going, if this guy does it twice, he's down to the bin. Like, my head is exploding on this because I'm going, they've actually made it harder for referee to send someone to the sin bin, yet they've claimed they've made it easier to police the ruck. Am I wrong? Am I missing something?
Look, I think you got a good point. I think you got a really good point because, like you just mentioned, I think what people want to see, and I'm speaking for myself and my inner circle, my circle of trust people. I think what we want to see is we want to see. Sorry, no, you're not. You're on. You see, here's the circle. You're out. No, I think what we all want to see is consistency, and we want to see the referees make a decision and deter the players from doing that. And that is laying in the ruck, holding down, hand on the ball, raking at the ball, not releasing legs, all that kind of stuff. And I think, the referee's job, I've said it before, I'll say it again, it's the hardest job in rugby league. It is them and the CEOs have the hardest jobs, including the CEO of the NRL.
Yep.
And I'll tell you why. It's because you just can't please everyone. You're always going to have 50% of the people annoyed at you when you finish a game because I think they get ripped off. But I just don't know if what the NRL have done here is helping the situation. And I'll tell you why. And I don't know if you mentioned this, but this 6 again thing is a discretionary thing. And I think people hate the discretionary thing. It needs to be black and white. Okay. And the black and white of it, and I know that nearly every decision is discretionary because you look at it with your own eyes and you've got your own opinions going on, your own narrative going on in your head. But what I would love to see, I'd love to see that if a team in their own 20 metres, their own red zone, tackle and get penalised once, you now are on a high alert. If you get penalised again the next set, whoever does it is going. And I think that would stop it. And I think that if they did that consistently and sent players, go and have a rest, even if it's only for 5. They had the opportunity to bring the 5 back here, but they didn't. Yeah, the 5 in the bin. I mean, the 5.
That would have been. They wanted to solve the ruck. That could have been the easiest thing they did.
Yeah, but the 6 again. The 6 again is discretionary. And are we going to see the 6 again with a minute left to play when the scores are 14-12 and the team that are 12? The team that are 14 make a couple of hold downs or whatever in the ruck. Are we going to see this? It's like, do we see an offside in a golden point? We never see offsides in golden point.
Field goal. No, never.
So these discretionary things, I don't think it helps the referees. I want to do whatever we can to help the referees and take the pressure off them. And I think that the NRL are trying to do that too. But I just don't know if this 6 again thing takes the pressure off them. I think a line in the sand, a mandate saying if a team get 2 penalties in a row, in their own 20. Whoever does it the second time goes. There's a simple mandate. And if you empower the referees with mandate saying the second one, no matter what, if it's a professional foul, the second penalty in a row, gone.
But here's my...
They won't do it.
Why does it have to be the second? Why does it have... Because your point before about it's the last minute of the game.
Yep.
All right? You're saying, well, what constitutes 6 again versus a penalty?
Yep.
So a player who would... And you've seen it, and we know we see it all the time. There is no interest in getting out of the ruck. It's all about, I'll stay here as long as it is until you call the penalty. It's not will you call the penalty. It's until you do call the penalty.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, okay, you want to say, if you really are empowering the referees, and the other thing that they did go to pains to say is, there'll be no more warnings. I guarantee you the first week, player will get sent to the sin bin. Boy, you didn't give us a warning. That'll be the first thing that the captain will say. Because they'll think that, well, even if they know or not, that's what I'd say if I was a captain. It's like, you've changed the rules on us. What's going on? I just want to see the referee go, you're gone. That's deliberate. Off you go.
Yeah.
And I don't care if they're doing it 6 again. They can just decide that anytime they like. But if they see a player deliberately doing what they're trying to clean up, off you go for 10.
Yeah.
They have to have that.
Mate,
they have to have that given, empowered to them, as you're saying. I don't care if it's the first time, the 5th time. They need to be able to do it if they deem that the player is professionally fouling. If they have that mandate, this will work a treat. But the problem is, with 2 referees for the last 5, 10 years, whatever we've had, that has not been the mandate. And the NRL has been too scared to give them that because they're worried about the game getting told, oh, you're just too strict. They went, was it 3 years ago, 2 years ago, they really cracked down?
2.
And within 6 weeks, the papers, oh, you can't do this. All the coaches ring up the papers, can you just get in the blower and, ease us out of the game? If PVL wants to really set this new boat on some great trail, he has to say to the referees, don't be afraid.
Oh, I agree. You got to give the referee the power, and but not only have you got to give him the power and grant him the power, you have to force him to use the power. And if they don't, that's when the referees should be under pressure, is when they're not following the mandate of the game. And the mandate of the game isn't to blow for 50 penalties in a game. Just start sin binning. If you start sin binning, they will stop.
Absolutely.
100%. They'll stop. And don't stop sin binning either. If they keep doing it, you're off. You're off until they get to 6 players. And
along
the game's
those lines, which you've nailed. If they want to get rid of the spear tackle, they want to get rid of high tackles, suspend them. Don't just give them fines. Don't just say, oh, you're off because if you want to get rid of it, deny the coaches the player. That is the key. It's not the financial. I don't care. Every time I hear that, I laugh my head off. Yeah. As if a player cares. It's financial. It does nothing to them. They'll play the next week. Get their match.
$1,500 fine. $1,500 fine for a trip. Remember what trips used to get in the 70s and 80s?
I was watching Steelers versus Seagulls from '92. It was on Fox the other day, which they've actually introduced some pretty good old stuff, which is great. And Brent Todd got sent off in the first 3 minutes.
I remember that.
This is his second game for the Seagulls. This is the year that Wally Lewis, second year Wally Lewis was there. He got all these players in through the draft and a few other things and had really built this team. Dale Shearer was there and he got sent off in the first 3 minutes. Commentators, interesting enough, had already said they've got to make the finals, they have to win this game. It was round 3, which I thought was hilarious. But anyway, gets sent off. No dramas. Eddie Ward, off you go. About half an hour later, Peter Gill tackled Les Morrissey. Remember Les Morrissey, second row of the Steelers?
Yep.
And he tackled him after he knocked on. The classic one. The guy knocked on and he came in, tackled him. It was pretty innocuous.
Yeah.
And Les Morrissey's turned around and just gone boom with his head straight in the melon. Down goes Peter Gill. Touchy from the other side of the field. You see his flag go up. He's waxed on.
Yeah.
Penalty. That was the only. No, not a sin bin, not a warning, just a penalty. So you're
a trip, you're gone. A headbutt, you're on. You're sweet.
Headbutt, and the player who'd done the high tackle, which was not a good high tackle, had been sent off already. So it's a perfect opportunity for the old square up, and it happened right. Oh, anyway. So to know what you're saying, they've got the option. They just need to go through it.
Yeah, hopefully they do. I just don't want to see the pressure get to the referees with this decision making of the 6 again. I really hope, and I don't know because you don't know a few things until the game starts again. But I really hope that they are free flowing with their six agains.
Yeah.
They call it, and I hope that they stick with it. Because it's not a penalty. It's merely a six again. And if the journos don't like it, well, there's stiff cheddar. Who cares what the journos like?
Something came to me just then. All right. We're talking about sin bin, whether it'll be used. At the moment, a player is sent to the sin bin if there's a penalty given away for being offside, all right? Or in the play the ball in the ruck, all right? And a player runs up, takes a quick tap.
Yeah.
And that player,
and
they interfere. They are gone. It has now become it's a thing that for some reason they've decided this is the one.
Professional foul.
Okay. Referee calls six again and you make the tackle. Are you sin bin?
I think so. I think you will be. Yep. I do think you will be.
You don't think it'll only be for a penalty? This is the grey areas. This is what I'm worried about. I just came to my mind then. But
I think that professional foul, intentional, messing with play when you're offside or when I think that'll still be a little trip to the bin, and I hope it is. I mean,
that'll be the tester.
I've even got the reason why, in my mind, and from what I've seen, the reason why referees get a little bit flustered and whatnot is because quite often they've got players in their face, questioning and even if it's not the captain. And I don't know I don't know if refereeing is a popularity contest or what it is, but I'd like to see referees go back to the dark old days of when Greg Hartley was around. He didn't care about if he was popular or not. You're off. Just get out of my face. Go away. You're off. Stop questioning me in that manner. Talk to me like I'm a human, or you'll go. And I think and talk to me at appropriate times. I mean, there's a few captains out there that are absolute unbelievable experts at it, of wanting to talk to the referee when it suits them, not the other way around. And they've got to understand that the referees are, I don't know if there's any more pressure on any person on a football field than the referees. And I just hope that the NRL have given them guidelines around this six again that doesn't make them start to think more than they have to. It should be free.
Going back to my original point, what concerns me is by creating the discretionary option here, you've created a barrier between that, potentially a mental barrier where he's got to make that decision. Is it a penalty? Is it six again? And sin bin's not in the mindset. That's the bit that has worried me a little bit. But if they empower him and they start using it and the players get the message, fantastic. Let's have it all for it.
We will know this time next week, or maybe a couple of days later. In about 8 or 9 days, we'll know, mate.
The litmus test would be if Cameron Smith is the first one, he gives away a penalty in the ruck, and then he makes a tackle on a six again. If he gets binned, I am confident this can work. If he doesn't, then good luck.
Well, see, I don't know if he's going to have a chance to make a tackle at the six to go, because the six to go will just go, okay, he does an indiscretion in the ruck. Referee waves six to go. So he can't really, how can you make it? You can't, I don't think you can. It's not a penalty.
But if you're not lined up at marker, you lay in and play the ball and you give away that six again, and then you make the tackle.
As long as you get up in your marker. If
but if you don't that's what I'm saying. That's the issue that I was saying before.
You never got onside. If you never get onside, you're offside, a professional foul. Cool your heels for 10 minutes,
Let's see if it happens. Speaking of cooling their heels, GI, he left the game at the start of last year, citing that he physically could no longer perform to the level that he wanted to. And we all know the level of GI is pretty high, and it was for a long time. One of the greatest utility backs is a harsh way of putting it, but he could play so many positions so well. Fullback was his position, but in Origin at centre, there's few Origin centres that played better than him for a length of time.
It's funny you say that fullback was his position, except when it comes to a lot of legends naming their best Queensland side of all time, it's nearly always at centre, at left centre. So I don't know. I don't know if I tend to pick him as a centre. Maybe he preferred to play fullback.
His best. He had a couple of his best years as playing fullback at South, where he was the guy. But I'm with you. Like that's just, he was awesome on the wing when he started, and when he went to Origin, firstly he was on the wing, and what a player!
Yep.
On the
He
wing.
even had a year at 5'8".
He did. That's the year he made Jamie Soward look very, very silly. in that.
And he
one
was
game.
pretty good. Damn right. He was a big
Well,
body.
he won a Clive Churchill medal at 5'8", didn't he?
That's right. Yeah.
I think he did.
So,
but anyway, GI, he retired, and there was a lot of discussion around the ability for South to not pay the full money that he was being owed. And the long and the short of it is, that there was an agreement made that he would then stay on with the club in a development role for less money, forego the money. South have the room in the salary cap.
yeah.
Revealed last week that he is coming out of retirement to go to the UK next year for the Warrington Wolves on a 1-year deal. Potentially it could be longer. And I really hope it is, because I love watching the guy play. And if he's got the desire and the drive back, then actually going to England is probably the best thing for him. Fans have blown up because people who have this misconception that he was under a medical retirement, a la Sam Burgess. Let's say about that one, the better. But the GI decision, do you think it's just mainly he just really wanted to play again? Because he did go to pains to say that in an interview with Channel 9 that, you know, he misses being around the boys, and that's one of the big driving factors for him, is that he wants to get back and play footy again. Is, you know, I don't know. I'm glad to see him back, whatever the reason is.
Look, I you know, an absolute legend of the game. Did plenty for his connection with the Indigenous culture as well. You know, proud Indigenous man. I'd say he would have missed the game. I'd say that he missed the game from a camaraderie point of view, and it's very different to being in a team as a player and then being on the outside as an advisor or a coach. I'd say that it's for the money as well. I can't imagine it's not for the money. He's going to have to train long and hard. You know, the Super League is well known as possibly being a notch below most of the time. The NRLs, you know, sometimes 1.5 notches below. So he may not have to train as hard as he would, or have the put his body through the duress that he would if he was playing NRL again. So therefore, it's probably an attractive option to go and make some money in the Super League. I don't know. I'm not privy to his bank balance details, but I'd suggest that it has to be for money to go over there and do that. I'd say that, you know, he wants to top up his bank account, and fair play to him. He's still probably, you know, got some great talent.
33, 34, I think.
He'll kill it over there.
He will.
He really will. He'll kill it. I mean, you know, he's still going to be fast, and he's still going to be strong. And that fend, that fend will be, you know, working overtime over there. They won't know what hit them with that fend. He's got arms that are 6 foot long. And
he's playing alongside Gareth Widdop and Blake Austin.
Yep. No, he'll go well, and I hope his body, like I hope he gets through it, and hope he has a great time. You know,
and I like the fact that it's next year. He's not trying to. I know that there's doubts whether we'll actually see the UK Super League get up again this year. I know they're close to announcing something, but he's given himself 6 months to get ready. Which I think is a great decision on his part.
Yeah, good on.
Because we know that his body has betrayed him at different times through his career. Yeah, and I said I wouldn't be surprised if this is more than 1 year. If he has a good first year, he'll go around again. That's my gut.
I hope so. I can't wait to see the highlights from
you know, some of that stuff will be fantastic to see. So GI, good luck in the UK. As I don't disagree with you, it's probably about the money as well, mate. That has been episode 212 of Not The Footy Show. We have managed to get through an hour. We've done all right. We've done all right. I did have a bit of an issue halfway through the show, everybody. I do apologise. We record this on Zoom, and just slipped my mind to split the screen view. So when you're watching us on YouTube, you might see me very, very small in the first half of the show, then back to normal. But that's probably a good thing. So people will be doing handstands over that. The alternative is, though, you get a big Cocksmith head straight in front of you the whole time.
How good.
I mean, how was that coffee, mate? Is that fourth coffee gone down well?
Yeah. What is it? It's 10 p.m. and it feels like it's 9 a.m.
Nice.
I'm ready to roll.
We will speak to you again, maybe even this week. We may try and actually catch up after the first game, if there's any differences, anything that stands out. And if we get anything from this 6 again rule that is worth discussing, we may jump on. You can follow me at NRL Tweet. Cocksmith is at Robb Cox, ROBBCOX, on Twitter and on Instagram. you probably want to give a shout out to this guy because I know you're a big fan of what he does. But the NRL roast, mate, what's your you're gonna give him some love. I did see something this week that I did find hilarious. But...
Yeah, I love his feed, the NRL roast on Instagram. I think he's a very funny dude. I don't know who he is. I believe he lives in Western New South Wales. Is that your understanding as well?
Yeah. He's in the sticks.
It's Parks or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, he's a spaceman. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a country rugby league reference for you.
I think he's got the best rugby league feed on Instagram of all of them. The best NRL feed. I think he's witty. He's got a lot of players following him, and they comment and they rib each other all the time. And no, I dig it. You should, if you don't follow him, you should, because he's got some very
some
very
of it's
fun
a little bit blue for my liking. I'm not going to make my nephew follow it. I'll be honest, but
he probably already does.
I will say this though, he does some really good stuff. Look, content creators, good luck to you. And it's interesting to see how much has popped up during this 10 weeks of isolation in a lot of areas. And I'm hoping just for the sake of pushing the rugby league brand around, let it go, NRL. Let it just happen. Let them just do some stuff, because the players love it. And your players are your biggest advocates. And if they're enjoying it, obviously, if it crosses the line, I get it. But there's a lot of things. And my final point on this will be, when it comes to vision, be lax, because you're going to really get into that US market in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And if you're playing favourites with that, the fans are going to turn on you. I'm just being honest. They will turn on you because they want to see this stuff overseas. And if you want to let the house highlights and all these places use it, that's fantastic. All right? Don't turn around and squash the little guys who are actually doing a pretty good job out here.
I think as long as it's not derogatory and painting the game in a bad light, I think they should let it go. I think it's great. I think let them be creative. Let them have a laugh. Let people get involved. Let people comment. Again, as long as it's not derogatory or salacious, too salacious, I think I think it's good for the game. It gets people talking about it. Not everyone likes the sanitized version of what they're fed by sports organisations. As reliable and as good a product they put out, I still think there's room for a different opinion, if you know what I mean, or not a different opinion, but a different view on things, and maybe a little bit. We all look at things differently, And
yeah, we do.
And I think maybe for some people, what he's doing at the NRL, it may not be what their cup of tea, but you've always got the opportunity to unfollow or not. Not look at somebody's stuff. No one's forcing you. So I'm really digging what he's doing. So good on him.
And if anything, this period's underlined is that there is a lot of gold in those hills. And the issue that we have, and I even go back to when I was there. Look, there's only so many hours in a day, so there's only so much you can do if you've got the keys to the castle, so to speak. And that goes for clubs, it goes for media organisations, and the rest of it. You don't have to squash the other people. I'm just saying that, and I understand there are certain rights involved, but there's also things that have been completely and utterly looked the other way when it comes to certain things. So just have a bit of perspective, I guess, is what we're ending up this show. It's episode 212. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/NRL podcast. YouTube, we're at W Nicolson, and we will have some more Not The Footy Show for you after a couple of weeks off. We are going to get back into it. We'll see how the stars align in regards to whether I can be bothered driving to Camden or not.
If the roast pork won't get you nothing, will, mate. So,
I can make roast pork on my own barbecue. I just can't put it in the oven because the oven don't work.
True.
Anyway, I've been Warrick Nicholson. That's been
Robb Cox.
And we'll speak to you next time on Not The Footy Show. See everyone.
Yeah, cool, buddy. Peps, yeah.
It's people's escape. It's people's relaxation. And we need to do everything in order to continue that great tradition of
Not The Footy Show.
Pepsi.